welcome to CX Today. My name is Charlie, and today we're going to be talking about the evolution of the CCaaS industry as I talk to the CEO and CMO of the CCaaS provider with the highest NPS score in the market, according to the G2 summer reports that I was reading last year, and that is UJET. So yes, as I teased, I'm joined by Anand Janefalkar, CEO of UJET, and Baker Johnson, CMO of UJET. And thanks both very much for joining me today. I'm excited to get straight into this conversation. And Anand, I'll start with you. And I first kind of want to ask, across the contact center space, what are the most noticeable trends that you've witnessed in 2023?
Yeah, Charlie, thanks for having us. So I think it's a rapidly evolving sector. I think part of it is just catching up with enterprise software and the just infusion of AI that is happening really rapidly. But I think what we're seeing and what we expect to see going forward is really the merging of a lot of different macro actions that are happening. Let me articulate that a little bit better. So let's say you're trying to go to work in the morning and your garage door is just not working. And so the first thing that you do there is you don't look for the number and contact customer support, which was the action that you would have done maybe 15 years ago. You'd go to your popular search engine or YouTube and see like, okay, how has someone fixed this or something like that. So that is how customer support as a start or initiation has evolved over the years. So what we expect to see is that to kind of go the whole distance. So we expect customer experience to kind of blend in with search. And definitely what we're seeing is that search and AI or Gen AI is really blending in together. So I think the lines will be completely blurred between search, CX, and Gen AI. And I think that is great for customers because they don't have to have a particular way of reacting to a situation if it's predominantly in the very, very consumer area, as opposed to the enterprise area, or opposed to your car versus your TV versus your computer. So I think that is a great trend that we're just seeing the initiation of. The other trend that we're seeing, and it's no surprise, is virtual agents. And I think the world has moved away from deflection during COVID days, where you just needed to deflect because you just didn't know whether your agents are available or able to connect or can get to the premises with a reliable internet connection. And you saw the rise of chatbots, and you've seen the decline of chatbots because people got frustrated with them and they didn't really bring much substance to it other than just saying, we've heard you. And then what we see is people then posting caustic reviews on social media because they just couldn't get a solution. So that has kind of gone away, and now it's virtual agents that have very specialized task algorithms. And these could be rebooking an itinerary, rebooking your cancel flight in light of what's happening here, at least in the United States, where a lot of flight cancellations have happened over the last week, all the way to processing a credit card, adding a service to your subscription, so on and so forth. So I think those are the two major trends that we're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll kind of second both of those too. In fact, whenever I try and contact customer support, it is always kind of type into Google, maybe see if I can find a video that shows me how to do something if I'm troubleshooting, or maybe just to go through live chat too. And then on the virtual agents side, obviously we've seen so much cool stuff with generative AI, especially actually from Google Dialogflow. And I know you work very closely with Google too. I think that's been particularly interesting. But I don't know, maybe Baker, if you want to double down on any of those, or if there's any other trends that you'd like to discuss too.
Yeah, I think the two things Anand shared that really stand out to me are, obviously the Gen AI explosion, and what he coined rapid evolution, I would call accelerated disruption, right? So really all the trends we've seen in the market are derivative of what happened with Gen AI this past year. But, disruption's never neat. It was a really good year for technology advancements. It was a pretty challenging year, I think, for operations and for projects, because with disruption comes a lot of new questions, a lot of new processes, a lot of new skill sets, resource requirements. And I think not just enterprises, but even SMBs have been wrestling with these questions and how to sort of get ahead in this new world order. So it was a good year. It was a truly disruptive year, and I think we'll start to see the curve smooth a little bit more in 24.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mean you talk about a bit about how kind of Gen AI has kind of is now augmenting some of virtual agents and just how much it has disrupted that field. I mean, using Google as an example again, the fact that you can just with natural language inputs build your own bot, just say I want it to cover this topic and I want it to connect to these bits of software, and then it builds. It's just amazing and something we could never have thought about maybe over a year ago. So I think that's a very interesting discussion about the evolution of what we're seeing in the contact center space. I do want to talk a bit about what you're doing at UJET to kind of meet those and react to those trends. So yeah, Anand, again, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah. So multifold, right? Just going off of what you just mentioned, I think virtual agents augmenting is a little bit of yesteryears. Yes, I know the market's catching up, and not everyone's truly augmenting to the level of how we're able to do it with Dialogflow, as well as a deep integration where it's not just a handoff or hand in, which to me just is just signaling that you have a very antique or obsolete stack, and you need to do a handoff or a hand into an AI code base, which you're just not stylistically or code base wise set up to do. But I think augmentation was something that we focused on early last year. Over the year, last year, what we focused on is two things. One is, as I was mentioning, very specialized virtual agent. So we call them task VA. So they are specialized to the T for a particular task. Now, a broad analogy to this would be microservices in the enterprise software stack, where you have distinct parts of the stack and you build microservices so that they're truly integrated but separate in a modular fashion from your master code base. So that's what we saw was highly successful with our customers. That customers deployed this for bill payments, they deployed this for rebooking of their itineraries, they deployed this for just understanding what a add-on feature would be to their given subscription and the implications after that for the costs, so on and so forth. The other aspect is to really assist agents in a manner that is not just academic. We had seen a lot of efforts across our industry to just say like, hey, we'll provide agents superpower, but literally what they're doing is opening another tab and just showing them the knowledge base that was in their training videos. Now, if those training videos and those material were that highly successful, you wouldn't need that anyway. Again, taking a low shot at it, but where I'm getting at is taking bits and pieces of that, being able to go way beyond sentiment analysis and actually into context analysis, be able to do agent assist with very specific and nuanced points of the conversations. So it's gone way further away from just sentiment analysis, letting the agent know, hey, this customer's coming in a little bit hot because the virtual agent wasn't really able to assist them. So please be a little more cordial and all that. So that's maybe like minus one step. Then going over to like just popping the information of the customers. Like Charlie is one of our premium customers. He's platinum level. He has made these past purchases. He's called about his last purchase a couple of times now. So be very careful and just go above and beyond. I think those things and just what we call as personalization has happened. And now you take it to the point where, hey, Charlie just said that I had purchased this and it came with installation, but the product arrived and the installers didn't show up or the technician didn't show up. And being able to provide immediate information about, there are two options here. We can send you a couple of self-install videos. And we obviously want to make this right and dispatch the next quickest available installer. And that just builds a lot of brand loyalty. So I'll take a quick pause there and make sure that this is still along the lines of what you were asking for.
There's again lots of really good stuff, and I like that idea that you're kind of gaining more kind of customer context and sentiment, and it's even fascinating to consider how you can apply that across other areas of the contact center, like the routing engine, for example. I don't know, Baker, if there's anything maybe you can add to that. I also maybe to Anand's point about the kind of evolution of agent assist too.
Yeah, well, look, I think almost all the conversation around AI is around interaction management and agent assist capabilities. Um, the truth is that what we're going to see is the evolution of AI into the contact center and on into search and the rest of the customer journey is going to go much deeper into the back end, into the workflows, into the orchestration of the customer journey. I joined UJET back in 2020, and I was fairly astounded to see how far ahead of the market we were in terms of collecting metadata and context from smart devices, and other modalities and channels from the consumer that we could use to inform routing, and sort of non-interaction capabilities that we offered. And what I quickly learned is that in bringing the product to market, we actually had to sort of downplay some of those capabilities, because there are change management concerns when you start bringing a contact center into the modern era, and there's so many evolutions and iterations involved, that you really have to take the customer through it step by step. What I see now is the market catching up there, and that's what Anand's really speaking to, is you just not so much reacting to the market as we've been patiently waiting for the market to meet us where we are. And I think in a really good position to move forward there. The other point that I would make here, which again Anand spoke to, but just to be really explicit here, so much of the conversation is around AI. To make it work, it's about data. And the contact center has always been challenged by data silos. And so that's going to be a forcing function for contact centers and enterprises, not just the contact center, but across sales, marketing, and service, to get their customer data profiles really unified and consolidated, so they can leverage that both for agents and machine learning.
But that is also what is really changing rapidly, right? Because initially you take that data and make that, try to fully obfuscate it and entirely make that the training set, and that took weeks and weeks to do, to properly model that. With Gen AI, what you can do is about 90% of that is already available in the large language models. So what you're basically doing is using that data that is specific to your business as an incredible tool for ring fencing, for avoiding hallucinations, for making sure that it's responsible and in the tune of what your brand just perception, or what you want your brand to be, as opposed to just using a large language model just randomly and kind of just praying in, feeling that, oh yeah, this is going to fit 90% of it, and then the 10% are just going to have to make do. Well, it doesn't work that way. So I think with Gen AI, in addition to what Victor said, just the beauty of the data that you have, you can even more articulately use that to cater towards and orchestrate, basically choreograph your customers' journeys, and in addition to hyper personalization and making sure the nuances are understood by the agents to, in real time, really get meaningful outcomes.
Yeah, I think again, lots of really good stuff there, and it's interesting. You hear more about from the CCaaS vendors about kind of becoming more CRM centric. And if you look at a platform like the Google Contact Center AI platform and how it kind of uses the CRM almost as the cornerstone of its solution, I think that's an interesting evolution of the design of contact center platforms as well. And to Baker's point as well, actually, you talk about kind of having to downplay some of your capabilities that you had, and the kind of customer centric design of it. And there's a feature on the of UJET, obviously you can use your thumbprint as an authentication tool. That's been there for quite a while, and yet I've still not seen any other CCaaS vendor actually replicate that too. So lots of great conversation happening there. And we've kind of sort of talked about kind of the trends that we're starting to kind of perhaps see into the future. But I don't know if both of you can perhaps give some explicit predictions for the coming years. I don't know, Anand, if you want to start again.
Yeah, I mean, I would quickly like to touch on the last point, is where, yeah, we've kind of been waiting, just because, again, I think it's no surprise that the CX unit, or the business unit at companies, was never like fully empowered. There were obviously exceptions, but they were never fully empowered to embrace new technology, and that's kind of why we had to play a little bit of the waiting game. That has changed now, because again, product marketing and CX are again merging a little bit, and the lines are getting blurred. And This is in tune with what my prediction is, that CX will get established as probably the number one sure-footed ROI place to deploy Gen AI, because there are a few competing places like Copilot's a great one. We feel that it's going to be more on the front end side of things as opposed to like the um, core backend code stack of things. But we do feel that because a lot of these things are merging, marketing owns the website, a lot of lead gen, a lot of brand kind of establishment and perception is attached to that. IT is woven through the entire fabric of the company, and sometimes, most of the times, actually is responsible for the CX budget. And then you get product where, like you mentioned, a lot of people are consuming products and services through the apps now, and having our mobile SDK as a part of it. Again, we like to bring all these three groups together, and that is what leads to a little bit more of the empowerment in addition to the AI sheen that can be added on top of it, to just make it a really amazingly shining product and service for their customers. So taking those together, and the leaders understanding that this truly is a loyalty creation tool, is what leads me to believe that my prediction is that CX gets established very quickly as probably the number one landing spot for Gen AI.
That's interesting. It's interesting to hear also your prediction about Copilot. I found fascinating there as well. I don't know, Baker, if you would add any another prediction of your own to that.
Yeah, look, I think it's all about market adoption, right? So if you look at Gartner research, for example, I don't agree with everything they put out into this space, largely because of the latency associated with their research projects. But they have a really good handle on historical market patterns. And one of their models I love is the Gartner hype cycle. So it starts with an innovation trigger, and then it goes up to this peak of inflated expectations, which I think, we see AI being overestimated, underestimated, you name it, but everyone's trying to make sense of it. And as all those questions and kind of the confusion and concerns arise, there's this big dip into the trough of disillusionment, which I actually think we're moving through pretty quickly right now. But what follows is the slope of enlightenment as your early adopters come online and start to show the ROI that Anand referenced. And then the plateau of productivity. And I think as the innovation cycles have accelerated, I think that cycle is accelerating as well. And I think along with that, you're going to see changes in the vendor landscape. I think you're going to see additional consolidation, more all-in-one solutions, but really a big push for enterprise in the cloud, and into modern cloud, specifically because you can't do one or two big chunky releases a year anymore and adopt all of this change management. Right, you've got to de-risk that with micro releases, which we've always done, but I think you're going to see the market moving towards more and more.
Excellent. I think it's a very exciting backdrop that both of you are painting for kind of customer experience in the future. As a final question I have, and this is kind of your, I guess, the opportunity to pitch UJET a little bit, is why is UJET given well placed for success, kind of given these predictions that you've both shared with me? Anand, again, I'll start with you for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think starting with where we've always been, right? We don't do a fall release or a spring release. We actually do over. Last year we did over 120 releases in the year. In 2022, 2023, I think I'll get the final numbers, but we did over 250 releases. Most of the times our customers didn't even know because it's true CI/CD, it's true kind of non-disruption releases. And I think that's what Baker was referring to, that the market's going to see want, demand, and actually command wanting those things in their solution. So I think that places us really well. The second one, as we again alluded to earlier, is anytime someone talks about an AI hand-in or handoff, to me is kind of a little bit dead on arrival, because it's like you're admitting that you don't have the deep integration into that. Yes, you can build a fancy website and a wrapper around things, but at the end of the day, during true real-time peak hour operation mode for your agents and supervisors and contact center directors, it kind of falls down. So it makes for a great sales pitch, but the numbers in the operational metrics kind of should speak for themselves. And that's why we're really proud of our our G2 ratings that are several basis points ahead in true operational and real time evaluation of our platforms with a lot of runtime over the years. One thing that we feel, and this is a little bit like what Baker had said, that we're kind of waiting for the market to catch up or adopt is, and again, there's a lot being thrown at them, is Gen AI is really good with speech, as we're seeing. It's really catching up with speech, but it's always been better with text and images. And we're the only platform that really has a routing engine that is not separate or not just digital for chat or text. It's not kind of an email comes through an entirely different out of band route, and then voice stays on it. Everything is the same. We have one single robust and scalable routing engine that can do up to 40,000 CPS in a single instance without a hacked up instance with 4 or 5 different smaller instances woven together. But we're the only ones that can actually take in-band text, images, videos in there and be a part of that Gen AI conversation and get excerpts from each of those to truly help the agents understand what the issue is. If it's a wiring issue, a picture literally does speak 1,000 words. You're setting up your financial account, a video does speak 1,000 pictures. And similar for even if you're trying to just commission a drone, or you're putting together a new device or a home theater. So we feel that is what really gets us excited about the future, is while others would be starting to integrate those modalities into their routing engine or their platform. We've had that for over 4 or 5 years now. And just now we're finding the fast adoption cycle for it, as well as the fast implementation cycle for it. So we're stoked, and we're excited for 2024.
Yeah, and I think that smartphone-centric architecture really is another big differentiator for UJET, as you were saying there, Anand. And again, lots of great stuff. And I don't know, Baker, if you want to kind of finish this off too by kind of maybe adding to any of Anand's points.
Yeah, I do think it's about the architecture and really about the foundation specifically. If you're looking for a house, there might be certain features you're looking for, but you're willing to compromise on. If there's a crack in the foundation, it's a non-starter. And so, kind of 3 key areas I'll highlight here. One is around security, which has always been important in the contact center. But when we talk about the exponential increase in data requirements we're going to see to sort of feed the AI machine, security is becoming even more of a fundamental concern. And that's always been a major advantage for us, without getting into the details of how we manage and don't store PII. So security is one that I think gives us a really good head start on the market. Likewise, scale and resiliency have been kind of the Achilles heels of cloud adoption. But based on the requirement to move to adopting these new capabilities and more frequent release cycles, cloud adoption is coming for all segments of the market globally. And our ability to scale and what we offer in terms of kind of redundancy at the application and carrier layers is another really big selling point for us in the market. And then the third, you alluded to our relationship with Google, but they are a clear leader in enterprise AI, and they're moving to truly an application basis for how they go to market. What we have through that relationship is early access to roadmaps, technology, development, resources, expertise that allows us to be developing, in some cases, 6 to 8 quarters ahead of other contact center vendors out there in the market. So we feel really, really well positioned as these capabilities become kind of mainstream requirements in the market to be able to meet and exceed most expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to some of those points as well, the research from G2, it was Aragon Research who also kind of positioned UJET as a leader recently in the space, kind of mentioned some of those points. And I'll include a couple of helpful links in the description box for anybody who kind of wants to delve deeper on that conversation. But I think lots of great kind of discussion here today, and fascinating to speak to you both and learn about kind of the direction that the CCaaS market is moving into. So yeah, thanks very much both for joining me today.
Thanks for having us. Take care.
Sean.
Excellent. And thanks to everybody for watching. Bye for now.